Hey there, I'm glad to see you on my channel. Make sure to subscribe as we post amazing stories every single day. We'd been planning the trip for months. It all started over a late night dinner after work when Ella dropped her fork, looked at the rest of us and said, "Let's go somewhere where there's no signal, no Wi-Fi, just us, the mountains, and a bunch of bad instant coffee." We all laughed, but I knew she meant it. So after weeks of coordinating gear, dates, and routes, the five of us, me, James, Ella, Mike, Lily, and Caleb, found ourselves crammed into Mike's beat-up Subaru, winding through the Colorado Rockies in early September. The air was getting crisp, the leaves starting to shift into their fiery autumn palette. We were chasing the tail end of summer, determined to make the most of it before the snow started creeping in. Mike and Lily had been dating for about 2 years, and Ella and Caleb had been close friends since college. Me? I was just the guy who loved the silence of the outdoors and happened to click with this group over the past year. I'd met them all through a hiking club, and somehow I'd become a regular part of their circle. But I'd always had a bit of a soft spot for Ella. She was the kind of girl who brought instant oatmeal in glass jars, packed biodegradable soap, and used duct tape to fix everything. Smart, curious, stubborn as hell. I never let on that I felt anything more than friendship until that trip. We parked at the trailhead near Lake Isabel, threw our packs on, and began the 3-day hike that would take us deep into the Indian Peaks wilderness. The plan was simple: hike 12 miles in, set up base camp near an alpine lake, spend a day exploring the surrounding ridges, then loop back out. The first day was long but beautiful. We passed through thick pine forests, crossed icy streams on makeshift log bridges, and paused to let a curious marmot inspect our packs. Caleb cracked jokes constantly, Mike navigated with his usual precision, and Lily kept pointing out different birds she'd memorized from her field guide. Ella and I ended up walking together more than once. At one point, as we crossed a narrow ridge with views that made your stomach twist with awe, she turned to me and said, "You know, most people think they're happiest surrounded by people and lights and noise, but I feel most alive when it's just this." I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing, just nodded, and tried not to stare too long at the way the wind tugged her hair out of her hood. We made camp before sunset, near a glacial lake that shimmered like polished glass. Mike got a fire going while Lily filtered water. I helped Ella set up her tent, and when she realized she forgot her headlamp, I gave her mine without hesitation. That night we sat around the fire, passing a dented flask of bourbon and swapping stories. The stars were so bright it felt like we were sitting inside a snow globe. Somewhere in the dark I heard Ella laugh, light, genuine, and it struck me how rare it was to hear laughter like that anymore. Unfiltered, unplanned. I think that's when it started. The second day we left our base camp and did a loop hike up to Pawnee Pass. The altitude was kicking in. Every breath came a little harder, but the views were worth it. Jagged cliffs, rolling valleys, and the illusion that the sky was somehow closer. At the top, I found myself next to Ella again. We sat on a rock, letting our legs dangle over the edge. She pulled out a bag of trail mix and offered me some. I took a handful and our fingers brushed. She didn't pull away. Instead, she looked at me and said, "You ever feel like you're not supposed to be where you are, and yet you wouldn't want to be anywhere else?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, all the time." She smiled, quiet and a little sad, and we sat in silence. It wasn't awkward. It was like we were building something in that quiet, a foundation. That night, back at camp, a storm rolled in suddenly. The wind howled and rain slapped our tents like it was personal. We'd staked everything down well, but Caleb's tent collapsed at some point, and he ended up crashing in Mike and Lily's. I stayed in mine, and to my surprise, just after midnight, I heard a knock on the fabric. It was Ella, shivering and soaked. "My sleeping bag's drenched," she said through chattering teeth. "Can I crash in yours? Just for warmth?" I nodded, heart pounding. She crawled in beside me, and for a while we didn't say anything. Her back pressed against mine. I felt her breath on my neck. Then in the dark, her hand found mine, and we just lay there. No words, just contact. The next morning the storm had passed, but everything was damp and quiet. Breakfast was muted. Caleb kept joking that he'd nearly drowned in a puddle inside his tent. Mike said we should pack up and start heading down a different trail, one that looped us out faster in case another storm came in. We agreed. Spirits were high again, and Ella seemed lighter, brighter somehow. We shared a few looks. Caleb definitely noticed. The trouble started that afternoon. The new trail Mike picked was less traveled, less maintained. At one point we crossed a scree field, loose rock that shifts underfoot like marbles. Halfway across, Lily screamed. She'd slipped, her ankle twisted at an unnatural angle. She was in pain, pale and shaky. Mike dropped to his knees, checked the ankle, and cursed under his breath. "It's either sprained bad or broken." We were 6 miles from the nearest ranger station. No cell service. The sun was already starting to dip. "I can walk," Lily insisted. "Just help me up." "No," Mike said. "You'll make it worse." We set up a makeshift camp right there, surrounded by boulders and cold silence. We wrapped Lily's ankle tight and kept her warm, but it was clear someone needed to hike out for help. "I'll go," I said. Ella inmediatamente se puso a mi lado. "I'll go with him." "No," Mike said. "One person is faster alone." But I shook my head. "It's better with two. Safer. We can take turns navigating, and if something happens..." Ella and I packed quickly. We left food, water, and my emergency beacon with Mike, just in case. We had a GPS tracker and a printout map. The goal was to reach the ranger station before nightfall. We walked in near silence, urgency pushing us forward. Somewhere around mile 4, we hit another rough patch, steep switchbacks over loose gravel. Ella lost her footing once, but I caught her. She gripped my arm tighter than necessary. When we reached the ranger cabin, the sun was long gone, and our legs were jelly. The ranger on duty, an older woman named Marcy, got moving fast. Within an hour, she was on the radio, calling for a rescue team to extract Lily by stretcher the next morning. We crashed in the ranger cabin that night, curled under wool blankets with instant soup in hand. My body ached, but I couldn't stop smiling. Ella looked at me, her eyes soft. "I'm glad it was you," she whispered. I didn't ask what she meant. I just reached for her hand again, and this time, she didn't let go. Lily was airlifted out the next morning. A search and rescue team arrived just after dawn, their orange jackets and calm precision, like something from another world. Within hours, they had Lily stabilized, loaded onto a stretcher, and lifted out by helicopter. She waved down at us from the skies, a thumbs up visible even from that height. Mike, visibly shaken, hugged all of us when it was over. "Thanks," he muttered, voice hoarse. "Couldn't have done it without you." We packed up slowly and hiked back to the original trailhead. sticking close together. Caleb had gone quieter since the ordeal, and even his usual sarcastic commentary faded into thoughtful silence. Everyone seemed changed, not dramatically but subtly, like the mountain had carved something into each of us. Ella and I walked at the back of the group. Our hands kept brushing, and eventually we just clasped them together and didn't let go. Back in town, the world felt too loud. Phones buzzed, cars honked, and the air smelled like exhaust instead of pine needles. Still, we all met up the following weekend at Lily's place. She was propped up on the couch with her foot in a brace, a blanket across her lap, and a wine glass in hand. "This sucks," she said dramatically, "but at least I have an excuse to make Mike do everything for me now." Mike grinned and kissed her forehead. "It's true. She made me fluff her pillow 3 times in an hour." The rest of us laughed. Ella sat next to me on the floor, our shoulders touching. Caleb noticed again. He shot me a raised eyebrow when Ella leaned her head against mine. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to explain. Whatever was happening between us, it felt real, unforced. After dinner, Ella asked if I wanted to walk her home. I did. Of course I did. It was a cool night, the kind where you can see your breath and hear the rustle of dry leaves underfoot. We didn't talk much, just held hands. At her doorstep, she turned, hesitated for a moment, then kissed me. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't movie perfect. It was real, soft, tentative, and utterly disarming. Our first date happened the following Wednesday. We went climbing at a local indoor gym and then grabbed Thai food after. She beat me on the wall twice and then stole half my pad Thai without asking. I didn't mind. Watching her try to hold back a smile with peanut sauce on her lip was one of the best things I'd ever seen. Second date? A documentary screening at an art house theater. Third? A hike at dusk followed by homemade chili at my place. By the end of the month, her toothbrush was permanently at my apartment. By the second, she was spending more nights at mine than at her own place. One night she stood barefoot in my kitchen, wearing one of my old hoodies and sipping tea. "You know," she said slowly, "I spend more time here than at home. Might as well make it official." So we did. Moved her plants in, cleared out a drawer, then half the closet. Caleb helped her bring boxes. Mike installed a new shelf. Lily supervised from the couch with a glass of wine. Everything just fit. We were 6 months in when I decided to propose. It wasn't a lightning bolt decision. It was slow and sure, like the way snow melts into a stream. Quiet, inevitable, beautiful. I noticed it in little things. The way she hummed when she boiled water. The way she labeled her spice jars in handwriting I'd memorized. The way she listened when I talked, really listened, like every word mattered. I talked to Mike first. "Think it's too soon?" He shook his head. "When you know, you know." Lily grinned. "Just don't do it on a mountaintop. We've had enough of that drama." So I planned something simple. Ella loved puzzles, loved nature, loved me. God, I hoped so. I took her back to the trailhead where we'd started that unforgettable trip, but this time we just did the first 2 miles. Easy terrain, soft views, the scent of pine thick in the air. At the overlook, I handed her a little box. Inside was a folded paper puzzle. She opened it, curious. On one side, a photo of the 5 of us from that trip. Arms around each other, faces sunburnt, grins wild. On the back I'd written, "This trip gave me everything I didn't know I was missing, especially you. Will you marry me?" Her eyes went wide, then watery. Then she looked at me and smiled so brightly it felt like sunrise. Yes, she whispered. God, yes. We didn't post anything on social media for a while. It felt like ours, sacred, untouched. The others found out at a dinner 2 weeks later. Caleb nearly choked on his drink. Lily screamed. Mike clapped me on the back so hard I thought I'd bruise. The group had seen us at our best and worst. Muddy, scared, laughing, exhausted. And now they were part of something new. We were building something. A life. Not perfect, not scripted, but real. And it all started with a hike, a storm, a girl with tangled hair and duct tape in her pack, and a boy too scared to say what he felt until the mountain gave him no other choice.